Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I rise today to highlight and defend Australia's profound dedication to the achievement of the United Nations Sustainable Developmental Goals and our post-COVID recovery. Madam Deputy Speaker, I think there are very few people in Australia who don't actually believe that we are in a very good position in this country and that we're very lucky to be Australians. And that is not down to any accident, actually. That's down to the good governance of this country by the federal parliament, led by the Morrison government, the state governments and territories working together, and indeed local councils. I think Australia actually should be celebrating the achievements that we have achieved in the year 2020. That's not to say there haven't been quite remarkable tragedies that have happened all across this great country, but the framework that has been put in place, the response to firstly the bushfires followed by COVID in 2020, is something to be remarked on and celebrated in this great nation. I'd like to firstly say that our response to COVID has been something that has been quite special and unique internationally. Australia took very early steps to close its borders internationally. That was regarded internationally as something that was quite unexpected. And in fact, when you speak to the experts that informed the evidence for that decision, you understand that it was a decision that had not been made lightly and not been undertaken without a great deal of discussion and forethought. But it was indeed a decision to close the borders that was the greatest public health decision made in this country. And that included bringing quarantine measures to Christmas Island so that those who were returning initially from Wuhan were returned through Christmas Island. There was a great outcry internationally that this was a negative step, but it's been seen to be a very important first step to keep this country safe. Then there's been a whole ream of measures that have been undertaken for aggressive suppression, understanding that we remain connected internationally to the rest of the world, but knowing that we have to learn to live with this virus. We can't lock down the whole country without making sure that we're keeping the economy safe. And what I'd like to say is that the dual economic and health crisis that this country faced has been well addressed by this government's response to COVID. But more importantly than that, this government cares about the things that are important to Australians. That includes the dignity and respect of having a job. And we can see that clear philosophical understanding by this government about the respect people have for the dignity of work and the economic response, which was JobKeeper. Now, I've had so many of my constituents write to me, email, phone me about what a lifesaver JobKeeper has been. In fact, last week the Prime Minister came to visit Higgins and I was able to introduce the Prime Minister to a number of businesses in my local electorate and the impact it has had on the temporary transitional support that JobKeeper has given to them to help them through what has been an unprecedented health and economic crisis in this country. And the issue about JobKeeper is the philosophical underpinning that it was about keeping employees connected to their job, connected to their workplace, connected to the dignity of work. And we're seeing now that that JobKeeper has been a wonderful transition to the other side of COVID. And we're now in a good position, albeit unfortunately still in lockdown in Victoria, but we are in a good position nationally for the COVID rollout that is coming at speed. And the COVID rollout, the COVID vaccine rollout, I should say, not the COVID rollout, the COVID vaccine rollout, gives this country a very important opportunity, and I welcome the COVID vaccine national rollout, and I hope all Australians get behind this in a bipartisan way, because this is going to give us as a country an opportunity to get in control of the COVID pandemic in a way that would not have been foreseen 1 year ago. Being a medical researcher myself, I know that the speed with which this vaccine has been firstly developed, then manufactured and now about to be rolled out is unprecedented in medical research history. It is, in fact, a modern miracle. And that the Australian government has got behind this vaccine development and rollout with investments, with partnering, and now to have the vaccine being developed and also grown and manufactured here onshore is a really good thing for the Australian population. But what it's going to do is turn COVID hopefully from a deadly disease into a serious and nuisance disease. And in order to do that, we need to get behind the COVID vaccine rollout. But to go forward as an economy, to go forward as a nation, we need to have the trust and respect of the Australian people. And I think 2020 has shown that we have a government that is sensible, that is pragmatic, that is not ideologically driven, and is going to continue to lead Australia to better outcomes going forward. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.